Hello, welcome to Autistic Chess Openings. We're covering the Sicilian Alapin as white, line number 4. Okay, let's summarize today's line. Sicilian Defense, Alapin variation on the board, and this time our opponent plays d5. So they go d5, we're going to take, they take, we go d4, they take, we take, they go knight c6, attacking our isolated queen pawn, we go knight f3, they pin our knight, we go knight c3. Now we arrived at this position before in line number 1 with a different move order. This time we're hitting the same position again, but we're covering queen d8, which is a blunder. So our opponent goes queen d8, we push d5 as our path forward. They go knight to e5, which is another really bad blunder. We take that knight for free. They get our queen, sure, but we get their queen with a check here with our bishop. They block, we take their queen with check, they move over, and we're still a knight ahead, and now we take at f7 check, breaking up their pawns and attacking their rook. They get our bishop, but we get their bishop. Make sure you take their bishop here when they take ours. Do not get the rook yet. Get the bishop first. They usually bring their knight out to f6. We take that rook. Now we're a rook and a knight ahead, and we're really dominating. But let's go ahead and just drive this one home. You're going to have to play through this game anyway if they don't quit, so you may as well learn how to just end it as quickly and efficiently as possible. We're going to watch Stockfish do that with anti-human lines. So king e8 is what they usually play at this point to prevent the knight from escaping. We go bishop g5, attacking that knight. G6 is a blunder, but the most common move. We take, they take, and it's a blunder because it lets that exchange happen with this check here. And now our knight escapes. So they move their king away, our knight gets away, they go bishop to b4 so that we don't lock their bishop in with d6, and so we just lock their bishop out with d6, and that's the end of the line. All right. And let's delete that little sideline there, and let's go ahead and review the line. All right, so Sicilian Alapin on the board, C3. The Alapin variation, it happens 5% of the time, and it happens 6% of the time at 2,000 and above. We can see that right here, 6%. And if you take it all the way up to 2,500, it only happens 7% of the time, whereas the Open Sicilian is 59% of the time. So the advantage you're getting right out of the gate by playing C3 is obscurity. Again, the most dominant factor on whether you come out of the opening with a bigger lead than your opponent, as big of a lead as possible, is how much bigger your book is than their book. And obscurity really helps. You can, I guarantee you that their book against knight f3 is going to be a lot bigger against than against c3 because they face it so much more often. So we're going to make C3 be our main line. That'll be our big book, and it'll be going up against their small book. So we get a huge advantage out of the gate, but we're going to see that the Sicilian Alapin has a smaller engine score, about 20 points smaller right out of the gate. So we'll see that with my mapper over here on the side, E4, C5, C3. For those of you who are new, this is my mapper. These are Stockfish 18 engine scores to a pretty good depth, and they've been stored ahead of time, and they get recalculated at every step. So here we are with a lead of about 11/100ths of a pawn, or 11 points, and as you go deeper, it ends up being about 10 points. So instead of 30 points ahead with the Open Sicilian, you're 10 points ahead, so you're about 20 points below that. But today's line, we're actually going to get a little bit better than that. So our opponent plays d5, and that's only with certain lines. They play d5, and if you take a look at the top 2,000 and above, so d5 right now, with all ratings, is the 4th most common move, happens 14% of the time. 14%. But if you turn it up, that 14% goes up to 23% at 2,000 and above. And you go up to 2,500, and now it's still 23%. So knight f6 and d5 end up being the top 2 moves at top level play that take about 50%, or are played about 50% of the time against the Alapin. And yet, when you go to lower rated, the reverse is true. They are the least common 2 of the common moves. So d5, and we're going to see a lot of inexperienced play against the Alapin, and so that obscurity rating is really going to help us here. So anyway, we're going to make sure we keep our mapper caught up, and we're just going to do these moves here until we get to this very common position here, right? Bishop g4, knight c3 right here. All right, so we have this position on the right. Let's get it on the left. Fast forward a little bit. All right, here we are. So bishop takes f3 is the only good move here. But it's only done 36% of the time. That means 64% of the time, almost 2/3 of the time, your opponents are throwing away the game right here in this very common position. This position is reached through a number of transpositions, and because of that, it is the most common position in the entire Sicilian Alapin. You definitely want to familiarize yourself with this position. We're going to give it very broad coverage, and we're going to make sure that the moves that are really bad, that we learn how to just end the game and punish them optimally and hard. So bishop takes f3, 36% of the time. Take a look over here at my mapper on the right. Bishop takes f3. We are 20 points ahead at this point. If they do bishop takes f3. And we covered this line in line number 1 if you want to go review that. But look at the next best move, queen a5. Our lead is not 20 points ahead if they do queen a5, but 264 points ahead. Queen a5 is a blunder. But look at look at queen d8. It's plus 407. And that's the move that's even more common. 19% of the time they go queen d8 here. It's garbage. All right, let's turn up the rating. Maybe these players are they really don't know the opening. So let's look at 2,000 and above. Surely they will be playing this correctly, right? Nope. 43% of the time they're taking. That is the most common move, but 57% of the time they're doing something else here. So 57% of the time, the most common position in the entire Sicilian Defense Alapin variation is not known by players 2,000 and above. But surely 2,500 players won't make that mistake, right? 55% of the time they take with the bishop. 45% of the time they screw it up. So we can still see that this position is not played well. We're already seeing the obscurity score of our opening paying dividends on move 7. All right, so let's enough of that. Let's turn these back and let's continue on. All right. So queen d8, we're going to learn to shut this one down hard. So if we put that move in over here on my mapper, here it is at 407 points ahead. Then we take a step forward and it reevaluates it to the same depth. And now it says it's not 407, it's 397. So it adjusts it a little bit because it can see a little more clearly the deeper it goes. And we can see that d5 is the only path to cash in all those points. The second best move is not nearly as good. All right, so d5 is the only path forward. So we play d5. All right. Knight e5, and you're going to start seeing once we play d5, once they've backed off with their queen and we play d5, we're going to see a very high likelihood of this line because we're going to get half coverage at every step of the way with every single move. Take a look at knight e5. It's done 51% of the time. So that one move, if you just learn how to fight that one move in this position, you've got 51% coverage of this position, more than half of that's more than everything else put together. So knight e5, knight e5. Now take a look at knight e5 on the right. So we push d5. They now need to go knight b8 or bishop takes f3. And yet, knight e5, 707 is what our score is going to go up if they go knight e5. It is the second worst move. The only move worse is king d7. So knight e5 is absolute trash. So they go knight e5, and now we're 700 points ahead. Excuse me, sorry about that. All right, so knight takes e5, we take there, and we're now 721 points ahead, and we can see that that is the only way to cash in our top score. So we take there, and now that they've committed to this, they need to take our queen at d1, and you can see they do that 96% of the time. So 51% of the time, they bring their knight to e5. 96% of the time after we take it, they take our queen. Then we check them. Now 100% of the time, they have to go there because it's the only legal move. We take check. Now they have to go here because it's their only legal move. And now we take at f7 check. And that gets us to this point. So let's go forward here. Bishop to b5 check, queen d7, bishop takes, king takes, and now we got knight takes f7. Now we could have done bishop f5, we could have done h4, but knight takes f7 is the optimal way forward because we don't want to spend a ton, we don't want to learn a ton of branches on a line that's garbage because at higher levels of play it's not going to get played, and we want to be able to shut the game down and spend our time learning other lines of more important stuff. So knight takes f7 is the way to dramatically keep the amount of branching minimized. So we're going to take their f7 check, they take back. And now king takes d1 is the optimal path forward. Knight takes d1 is pretty good too, but king takes d1 is better. All right, so we take with the king, not the knight, after they get our bishop. So we trade bishops here. And then knight f6, 61% of the time. They finally get a move that they can do on their own, and they choose another bad move, knight f6. Take a look at it on the right. 801 points ahead is what we're going to be if they do knight f6, when they really ought to play g6 or g5 and keep our lead down to 730, 740. Why are we doing this? Because you're going to run into this. You're going to go down this line. It's going to happen time and again. I've already played this line numerous times, and why fight it out from here? Why not just recite moves and crush them and end the game and move to the next game? So you're going to have to play through this game anyway from here. Why not learn how to do it optimally and shut it down quick? So knight f6. It's also instructive. Now they're trying to get their rook to be mobile, but all they're doing is forcing us to take it now when they really should have played something else that would have gotten a head start and trying to trap our knight in. That's where it's instructional. They should have played g6, preparing bishop to g7 and recoup that knight. Instead, they wasted time, and time is critical when a knight gets into the corner and is trying to get back out again. So king e8 is finally a good move here. Let's see, they go knight f6, we take their rook, and now they go king e8, and we can see the engine scores over here on the right. King e8 is finally a good move. It's keeping our knight from escaping. All right, now we go bishop g5. We had other top engine moves we could have done, but bishop g5 keeps the branching minimal, and we can see that, again, a 58% score on a blunder. So our score is about 800 points here. They need to go knight takes d5. And then when we take back, they can go rook d8 and win our knight. Or they need to go rook d8 right now. Or even a6 here. But g6 allows that knight to escape immediately. And yet it's done 58% of the time. So they go g6, and now we trade off. So we can see g6 here, and we can see our top engine response right here is to trade off. Bishop takes, e takes, and now we got rook e1 check is definitely our top engine move here. We check them with the rook, and you might think, but they can block. No, because if they block, you're going to push d6, and now you're going to win their bishop with, we're going to take their bishop with our rook, with check. So they can't block. And they can't come over here to f7, and so they have to abandon the f7 square, and our knight gets out. And we can see that our knight escaping is our top engine move at this point. And again, these are all 50% and above moves. So this line, you're going to find yourself going down this, and may as well get it all the way to the end and end this game before it even gets a chance to recover. All right. Bishop b4 is finally something that's not 50% or above, and we're down to 47 games in the database. They go bishop b4 because we were about to push d6 and lock that bishop in. Bishop b4 is the most common move at this point, and now we play d6 anyway, and that's the end of our line here. d6. However, I'm going to show you how to mop up. So bishop to b4 right here. And then d6. Now, we had other top engine moves that were actually stronger. Rook c1, a3, rook e4, rook e6. Why d6? Because it forces trades. We have two rooks and two pieces against one rook and one piece. We want to trade. So it forces trades, and this is the simplest, quickest way to end the game, is to play d6, because we are threatening something really nasty unless they trade. So let's look at the trades we're forcing them to do. We're forcing them to take on d6 with their bishop, then we take with their knight, they take back, and we go king c2, and this is an easily won game. So that's one option they have, take that pawn with their bishop. The other option they have is to go rook e8. But then we will trade rooks. Now our knight's under attack, but we'll go knight d5, attacking the rook over here. So we're on this board over here now, so we can see the scores. We'll jump to knight to d5, attacking that bishop. The bishop cannot take d6 because our knight covers it. That's the last piece we're trying to eliminate so that we can make this game really easy. And that bishop, if you look at where it can go, there's not much left. It only has two squares that escapes immediate destruction, a5 and c5. If they go to a5, we have b4, and now their bishop is forced to trade down. Make sure you play b4 when they back off to a5. And if they back off to c5, go rook c1. Now, if the bishop moves, your rook goes to c7 and forces the pawn to queen, or for them to trade their bishop off to prevent it. And if they try to do b6 to prevent that, again, we've got that b4 move, and now we're going to get our rook to c7, or we're going to trade off that bishop. And that gets rid of the last piece on the board there if they do the rook e8 move. All right, so Let's see here. They might try rook to f8. 2 games proceeded that way. Rook f8, so we'll look over here on the side. If they play rook f8, here's our threat. Here's what's forcing them to trade down. Rook e7 check. King c6, or c8 is even worse. We go to c7 check. They only have 1 square they can move to, and it's to b6, and then our knight goes to d5 check. And now they've got to move their king. We pop off that bishop. They take back. And then we go d7, and now we're going to queen. They might take our knight, but then we get our queen, and our queen protects our rook, and that's game. So that is what we do. If they go to f8, they might try backing off the bishop to a5 right off the bat first, but then we just do this rook e7 check, king c6, and then we go rook c1, because we can't go to c7 because our bishop covers it. So we go to c1 with our rook, and now our knight can move with a discover check, and now we're definitely going to force a trade or force that pawn to queen. And then what else we got here? Anything else, or is that everything? King c6 directly. Then we still go rook e7. They might go bishop a5 to try and prevent our check here, but then again we'll go to c1, and if they try to go to anywhere else, let's see, bishop takes the pawn right here. Okay, if they take the pawn right here, we go rook e6 and we pin it and win it, and that's going to be game. And that's the end of the line, and I hope you liked it. Until next time, thank you.